Can you simply rest as not knowing? Now, in this video, I'm going to refer to knowing as the knowing of mind. It gets very confusing when you hear me speak of knowing as knowing, being synonymous with experiencing, being synonymous with awareness. But how most people refer to knowing is knowing conceptually. So this knowing is more of I know. So I might refer to it as I know. And not knowing, I'll refer to as I don't know. So can you simply rest as I don't know? And see that you can only truly rest as I don't know. You can't rest as I know. When there's I know, there's a restlessness that you experience. This I know is an activity. There needs to be this maintenance. I know is always past. And this past is always being projected onto this in forms of labels: tree, bird, home, cloud, sky. I know, I know, I know. So there's no rest in I know. But there is rest in I don't know. This label making mind, this labeling activity that the mind is an activity. Tree, bird, fence, home, cloud, sun. How I'm illustrating it with my hands is this activity. Like you're putting labels on everything. I know, I know, I know, I know. And this is constantly happening. But when we rest as I don't know, then what we experience is this labeling of things slows down and relaxes and comes to rest. And we experience rest. And you can finally rest. So you can rest in I don't know. Everything that I know conceptually is knowledge. This knowledge has been acquired. And see that when I'm trying to know, I'm trying to acquire more and more knowledge. Again, it's this activity. I want to know. All of the questioning is seeking to know. But we don't truly know by trying to know. This may sound very confusing. We truly know through the door of not knowing, through the door of I don't know. I don't know is humility. I don't know is this emptiness. It's in I don't know that the true knowing is revealed. It's very counterintuitive. It's very paradoxical. That in this I don't know, there's a letting go of knowledge. There's a letting go of that thinking activity, that labeling activity, describing everything. All of that activity of mind is being surrendered. And there's just simply what is. There's the non-conceptual reality. And this true knowing, the knowing without mind, the knowing that's non-conceptual, is all there is. And in this true knowing, everything is known, but not the way that you would think. This knowing is the essence of everything. So you know everything experiential, not as a concept. But we get caught up in this, I know, or I think I know, and I'm trying to know. And this is getting caught in our own delusion. The biggest delusion is to think that you know. And I always point to this, that even all the spiritual stuff that you've learned, it needs to be surrendered, needs to be let go of. You don't realize the truth by gaining more and more spiritual knowledge and then finally going, that's the last thing that was missing. It's always going to feel like that there's just more understanding, more learning, more knowing, more books, more videos. It's endless. I know is limited. I don't know is limitless. So when we can see how we're always trying to know, we see that there's no rest in this. Trying to know, trying is effort. There's no rest. So it's about resting as I don't know. You're resting as I don't know. It's the mind that's surrendered. The mind is at rest. The mind is absent. This I don't know is really no mind. That the attention is not going to an object. It's not caught up in the thinking process. We may feel like it's just this next question. One more question, answering this question. This is going to be it. If I just get the answer to this question, it's always seeming like there's a question, and if only I can just get the answer, then I'll have it. And in a way, we get caught in our own delusion, this conceptual reality. And it's always a surprise to people because they start experiencing the truth and it's like a shock. They thought they were experiencing it before, but it was really just the delusion. It's a sort of tricking yourself, believing. And it's always going to be completely different than anything you think. It's never going to be what you think it is. Because it's non-conceptual. Anything you think it is right away, it's a misconception. Because it's a conception. So the door is not to be gaining more and more knowledge. In this I don't know, it's this knowledge is being surrendered. You're letting go of this knowledge. This letting go, you're relaxing attention. It's letting go of knowledge. Knowledge is all this mind that the attention is constantly attending. This letting go happens when there's the relaxation of attention. This is self-inquiry. And when attention is at rest, there is a knowing that is non-conceptual. It's a knowing without mind. It's the true knowing. But if all we are attending is the mind and the concepts, then all we know is this conceptual reality. This is what we're attending. In relaxing the attention, you're letting go of the conceptual reality. You're letting go of what you think everything is. And the attention is returning to rest. Now, we can't say anything about this. We can call it self-abidance. We can make it very poetic or metaphorical that we're sinking the mind and the heart, that you're returning to source. Whatever you want to call it is up to you. But to be even concerned with what you call it, back to trying to know something conceptually. And you see it sort of becomes an obstacle. To this. This is simply ever present. It's being overlooked. There's more of an interest in the concepts, trying to figure it out. This is that seeking activity. The attention is seeking. But there comes to a point where the seeking is decreasing. Because happiness is the absence of seeking. What you truly are is not seeking. It's not resisting. The source of the attention is not seeking. So this attention just simply returns to its source, which is you, your true nature. This is knowing, the true knowing. But as long as we're trying to know, which is conceptual, which is with mind, there's always just grabbing at concepts. The attention is grabbing this, grabbing that, jumping from this to that. What did that teacher say? What did this teacher say? What did that book say? And it's just bouncing around. And this activity is exhausting. There's no rest in it. It's when the attention relaxes and it's resting. The attention relaxing is known as self-inquiry. The resting of attention is known as self-abidance. That when you're simply resting attention in yourself, as yourself, there is a knowing that is non-conceptual. It doesn't know anything conceptually. This knowing is experiential. You're knowing yourself. And as long as you're trying to know these concepts, it becomes an obstacle to knowing yourself. So we see that what's being surrendered in this relaxation is the knowing of concepts. Seeking conceptual understanding is simply let go of. And often what happens is in this self-inquiry, that when the attention relaxes, comes back to rest, the experience can be so powerful that now there's a great dispassion, a great disinterest in all of that you were once attending. You found what you were seeking for in the concepts, and you see that what you are experiencing can't be touched by any of the concepts. They can't describe it. They can't go near it. They're always going to fall short. It's always going to be limited. As soon as you start talking about it, it's not it. It's usually a taste or two. You start noticing that there's a disinterest in all of that which you were simply attending before. And there's a love for what has been discovered. And what has been discovered is not some sort of one-time thing. It's living. It's not like you discovered something last week and now have a memory of it. This self-discovery is ongoing. This is where the self-inquiry ends with self-abidance. That self-inquiry is the way to the self, we could say. And self-abidance is staying as the self. That you just come back, and then you'd go out, the attention would go out, and then it would come back, and then it would go out. And you'd start seeing this contrast. And the attention is coming back to its source more and more. The self-inquiry is ongoing. And this abiding as the self is alive. It's not what you're used to, because what you're used to is gaining some sort of knowledge and then, I know it, and then it is stored as a memory, which then you refer to conceptually. This truth that you are is living truth. That you're always aware of it. It's a living experience. It's not like knowledge, where knowledge is dead, where it's in a book and it's like, that's a fact that then you remember and then regurgitate. It's not that. It's something to be remembered. Study it, and then remember it. It's not like that. So in this I don't know, you see that I don't know is really this relaxation. And the attention is at rest. I don't know conceptually. But really, I don't know conceptually is the experience of knowing experientially. What are you knowing? You might ask. You're knowing nothing other than yourself. You're simply knowing. You're simply experiencing. And any sort of description of this, no matter what words we use, the words as happiness or love or peace or freedom, can't actually describe what you are. As powerful as these words appear to be, they still don't come close to what you are. You will still have ideas of what happiness, love, peace, and freedom are. And those ideas are not what you are. It just isn't it. So we come to this point of seeing that there's no way to know yourself conceptually. That it gets to this point where it feels like, yeah, I've been reading all these books and gaining all this knowledge and listening to all these teachers and all of this stuff, and I've been trying to conceptualize this, but it just is seen as, it's like a dead end. It's a limit. And there's now a relaxing of I know. There's a surrendering of I know. It's this surrendering, this letting go of I know. And you start experiencing that it's more and more quiet, more and more still, because this activity of I know is like a noise. And it's an activity, it's a movement. So you start experiencing more and more of this relaxation and rest. And really you start experiencing the absence of the need to know. You're experiencing the absence of the questions. The need to know is another way of saying that you're questioning. It's not that you're gaining answers, but more so that the questions are being dissolved. There's no seeking the answer because the questions are being dissolved. That it's in this relaxation that there's a dissolving of questions. It's in our experience of ourself that these questions don't even arise. That this is really what satsang is in essence. Many confuse it with Q&A. It's not Q&A. It may appear to be Q&A, in which the seeker attends the satsang to get answers to the questions. That's what it looks like superficially. In essence, it's the experience of yourself. And in experiencing yourself, the questions aren't being answered, but they're being dissolved. There's less and less questions. And you find ultimately that the questioner dissolves. That there's simply no questions arising. And when there's no questions arising, it's the end of seeking. Happiness is the end of seeking. Happiness is the end of suffering. The seeking is suffering. And what remains is the truth that you are.